Good evening, everybody. We'll move into the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council. First item of business would be the adoption of the minutes. Looking for adoption of the Committee of the Whole minutes from May 17th, public hearing minutes from May 17th, regular open minutes from May 17th for adoption. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Ryan, discussion, please. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question and a query about the regular open minutes from the last meeting of May the 17th. And the first was on item 5, the pedestrian walkway to the causeway, from Causeway to Park Place. I guess I was just a little puzzled by the way it was presented because we did have a motion that was amended, and the amendment and then the amended motion were carried, but passed, but got a carried there after the motion. Looks like we made the motion first, and then we made another motion that was different, and I just wondered if that was accurately, sorry, it was item 5, pedestrian walkway from Causeway to Park Place. Yeah, so it shows that we passed one motion, and then it shows we passed a similar motion with an amendment, and my recollection was that we moved the motion, we amended it successfully, and then we carried it as amended. So it looks like there's an extra carried in there. Okay, good. And the other, Mr. Mayor, is on the last, the building permits, number 2 at the end there at, under reports, shows that I and Councillor Cronmiller resolved that the CAO's report be received. I think that should refer to the building permits report.
Well, we would have received both. I would have received the Chief Administrator's Officer's report.
Yeah. It's indicated above his report being presented, so.
Okay, that might refer to the
building permit. The
building permit report.
That's my thought.
Okay.
So small things, but
okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. We'll have those corrected. So we'll the resolution that's on the table now would be to adopt these minutes as corrected. Okay, that's comfortable, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item would be introduction of late items. There's a couple more meeting reports for Councillor Rhodes and Chadsey to be added, and they will come up under Business 1, Council Meeting Reports, Expenses. So I'll just add those on when I introduce that item. And we are going to remove the Greyhound issue from the agenda. So this would be under Business 8. We'll be removing that item in its entirety from the agenda. So I'm looking for a motion now to adopt the agenda as Councillor Chadsey, I'm sorry. Councillor Rhodes, as amended? Great, thank you. Anything further? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. No delegations tonight, no correspondence tonight. Moving down to F, bylaws. We'll get right in. We don't have even that many bylaw changes tonight. F1 would be a zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.83. That was a part of the public hearing that we just had. Councillor Ryan will lead us on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, we just had the public hearing, and there were no presentations or no documents ahead of time. So I would therefore like to move, Mr. Mayor, that zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.83 2010 be read for a second and third time tonight.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Rhodes. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item number 2 under bylaws, Council Indemnity Bylaw number 1221. Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This bylaw is called Council Indemnity Bylaw number 1221, 2006, and the purpose of it coming to council is to amend it to include a $50 meeting indemnity for the mayor and councillors when attending meetings in town that have been assigned by council as a whole. I'm going to just leave it at that if somebody wants to make a motion, and if not, then I will.
Okay. Somebody making a motion for the indemnity? The Rhodes?
I'll move that we accept Council's recommendation, option 1, and I'll read that off. The Council and Indemnity Amendment Bylaw 1221-01 2010 be read a first, second, and third time.
Thank you. Any discussion on that, please? Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that council had asked that this be formulated and brought forward, but in the long period we had between our last meeting and this one, I've given it considerable thought, and I would speak against this motion. I just don't feel that that this is something that is necessary. We try to encourage volunteerism as much as possible, and I think that part of that volunteerism is community service, and I believe that this should be part of our role as community leaders, and part of it should be absorbed into the indemnity that we do generally receive for our service. So I would speak against pursuing this.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes? Oh, I'm sorry.
To clarify, seconder, we missed seconded motion.
Okay, sorry. That would be the resolution by Councillor Rhodes, seconder by Councillor.
Sure.
Speaking to the motion, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, once again, it's always odd to put a motion on the floor. There's always an assumption that the person that's putting on the motion will always speak in favor of the motion. However, that's not the case. Often motions are put on the floor to offer an opportunity for debate, and I, as well, am going to speak against this motion. When we first started off down this path, I was very much in favor of it. As everyone's aware, I'm a part of what's going on with the meetings and the process, and over the last couple of weeks and giving it further thought, I don't like the idea at all. I really admit that I started off liking it, but I don't anymore. I believe that there is a better way of determining whether council should receive further compensation for the work that we do, and I believe that that could be handled quite comfortably through a committee made up of our peers in the community, and I'd much rather see the decision-making process head off in that direction, and that would be the basis of me speaking against this motion.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I think we all have our own thoughts with respect to remuneration for work we do on a council. I appreciate that I just put it out there to see what would happen, and I want to thank Councillor Rhodes for making a motion so that we could all speak. I disagree with the amount, but then I've never been that happy with the $100 out of town meeting. I do think that council has to be their own advocate, just like every other employee of every whether you're a union or you have a contract, you have to be your own advocate. This council does a lot of work. Councillor Ryan refers to it as volunteerism, and I agree, there is a lot of volunteering done by this council. However, there are meetings that we are required to attend because we've been assigned to do that by mayor and council through motions, and these meetings do take our time. They're extra, and they require not just the attendance of the meeting, but they require often shuffling your personal agenda, and they certainly require that you prepare yourself for whatever committee you've been assigned to. And so I do think that there should be some compensation for that. I'm not sure that $50 is the right amount. I'm going to vote against this motion, but then I would like the opportunity to make an alternative motion.
Okay,
Thank you.
Councillor Chadsey. I also am not in favor of this motion through dialogue with people in the community, and that they certainly were suggesting that it's the wrong motion at the wrong time. And I really like, in the previous council, we did have a volunteer committee come forward to look at council remuneration and other issues dealing with the pay of council. It came undone internally within their own group. They couldn't see eye to eye on it, and it folded. But it was a great process, and if we can get that going again, I know there's a lot of people in this community who would like to sit on a group like that. And in fact, some of those people have come forward and said that they would like to sit on it again going forward. So maybe we can get something like that going in the future. So so we have this motion, so I guess we're going to have to look, and it's been seconded. So all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Okay, that motion is defeated. Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that that the town seek to reinstate the committee that was struck by previous council for the purpose of looking into the council remuneration, and invite members of that committee to return, and those that don't, that we seek people from the community who might wish to sit on it. I know that's a long motion, but I will speak to it also.
Okay, thank you very much. Seconder, Councillor Ryan. I think that's a great motion. So, Councillor Chadsey, speaking to the motion.
Thank you. I didn't know you were going to speak about that, but I had some notes here, and we've actually had this discussion, council, several times from the day that we were elected, about the whole issue of, as I said, out-of-town meetings, the $100, in-town meetings, whether we should or we shouldn't. The whole issue of pay for work done. And so I think this just brings it to a head that we need a committee to do this. And hopefully they'll interview us, and hopefully we can get a committee going that will come up with some suggestions, and it may mean that there is no remuneration, which is absolutely fine, I think, with most of us also. So I will be voting in favor of that motion.
Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am very happy with a group such as this making some recommendations. So often there's a stereotype that as soon as someone gets elected, they raise their salary, and I don't think we want to continue or reinforce that stereotype. Also, in terms of the previous motion, even though we defeated it, I think it's optically no one knows whether you're getting paid for a meeting you go to or not, and so I think it could lead to confusion and to a wrong impression. So I certainly support this motion. I think we had a committee that I know some of the people who were on it, and I think they were well chosen, and hopefully they will return or they will be replaced with equally capable individuals.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes? Oh, okay, I think, obviously, this is a good motion. We'll get that out there, and, Mr. Remenko?
Could I just ask for a clarification if there's some date that you want to include it within the motion? Given that it's June now, summer months, in terms of timing of bringing people together during the summer months, is this something you want done within the next month, 2 months, or is this something that we'd look at dealing with in the fall?
And I guess you're asking as far as even organizing for the committee members.
That's right.
Because everyone's into their summer model. I'll go to the mover, Councillor Chadsey.
I don't see any urgency in this.
So maybe we could start looking and start doing the search and start the advertising for committee members September.
That would be my recommendation, and also that we would be able to bring back in terms of reference to council to ensure that we're identifying all the specific areas that council may want to. We'll bring back the, I'm sure there's documentation in terms of the other committee,
okay,
and then we'll be able to review that with council and strike forth the terms of reference on that.
Okay. So could we have what we have now on that? Okay, that sounds good. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That is carried. The next bylaw would be bylaw number 3, Safe Premises Bylaw 1249 for adoption. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our Safe Premises Bylaw 1249 of 2010. And just a bit of background, Council gave the first 3 readings to the Safe Premises Bylaw 1249 of 2010 at its regular open meeting of May 17th of 2010, and it's now ready for Council adoption. And I'm going to read through the overview. We did have a little bit more input since then into it, and I think it's pertinent to mention that at this time. And this bylaw gives powers to different authorities to require remediation of buildings that may have been used for grow operations or other illegal drug manufacturing, as well as give authorities the power to enter, inspect, and close up buildings that pose a risk, and the mediation and inspection fees required before a building can be occupied again. There has been press regarding a court ruling in Arkansas versus the City of Surrey. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. And concern as to whether the ruling will have effect on this bylaw. Staff conferred with legal counsel on this to ensure that it does not impact this bylaw, and were given the following statement from Francesca Mazzari of Young Anderson. That decision was worded, the Arkansas decision has a broad impact on all inspections of private homes, but no particular effect beyond that on the Safe Premises Bylaw. Essentially, the decision means that inspections pursuant to Section 16 of the Community Charter, which are contemplated in most regulatory bylaws, included Section 11 of the Safe Premises Bylaw, may require an administrative warrant in some circumstances under Section 275 of the Community Charter, where the homeowner does not consent to the inspection. In other words, the bylaw does not require any changes prior to Council giving it its final adoption, and will be enforceable once adopted. So with that in mind, I'd like to make a motion that Safe Premises Bylaw 1249 of 2010 be adopted.
Thank you. A seconder on that, Councillor Ryan. A further discussion, Councillor Ryan?
Well, I think this is a very important one, and I'm happy to see the legal opinion, because when I read about it in the newspaper, it sounded like there was going to be some impact on these similar bylaws that other communities had. So I'm happy to see that it's not going to affect it any more than it would normally. And it's really a safety bylaw. It talks about the proper connection of all the different services, electrical and venting of appliances and so on. And it's really important. It talks about mold, and I mean the list of things that are in here that are chemicals that shouldn't be in a home go on for pages, and it's very scary, especially when you can't pronounce the names. So I think it's important to have this, and I'm very pleased to be able to support it.
Any further discussion, Councillor? No? Everyone fine? I also think this is a good bylaw, and it is a safety issue. And, you know, we can all sit there and say, well, it doesn't, you know, doesn't affect me, or it's a little heavy-handed or something like that. It may be heavy-handed until that crack house or meth house is your neighbor, and then you'd be pretty happy to have this bylaw there so that something could be done about it. So I'm glad that after that BC Supreme Court decision came down, that there was a bit of clarity there, and that this can move ahead. And I know in Surrey, I followed it in the newspaper, and they're proceeding with it, even though that decision. All in favor of this motion? Opposed? Carried. The next item of business is Council Procedural Bylaw number 1271, 2010, and this is quite lengthy, and it involves quite a few issues. And we're reading this today almost as a bit of a launch on this here. It's almost like it's not a public hearing by any means, but we want to get these items out there so that people have an opportunity and time to look at some of these issues that are going to change on this procedural bylaw. One of the big items that's going to happen is this bylaw will be moving council meetings from 7 p.m. at night to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And that's going to be controversial. I know people are going to have input into it both ways. And it is both ways. And we tried to do this on a trial basis. We cannot do it on a trial basis and do it. So while, I mean, we could, if we pass this and we get public input, which will be the next step, if we do pass this and it doesn't work, we very readily could be going back. But there's a lot of pluses there that we can have staff in attendance. We can have our directors in attendance at the meeting. We're not paying for people to be here at night. Sometimes we have 3 people here at night. Those are overtime costs and things like that. So there's many reasons why we would look at this. But again, we're willing to listen to the people. So there's about 14 items here that I'm just going to go through, and what we want people to do is to look at it, to get onto the website, because the changes are many. I'd be reading here at 11 o'clock to go through all the changes, and we wouldn't understand them. But I am going to hit the report here, and what we're going to be looking at is changes. So the background: several changes were necessary to update the council procedure bylaw. With the direction of council to change the meeting time to 2 p.m., all changes were incorporated at this time to develop a new bylaw rather than just amend the existing bylaw. We have a lot of other issues out there that needed changing. So on the overview, council is required to have a procedure bylaw under the community charter. Some of the changes made to the bylaw include new references to the CAO, a change of the meeting time from 7 p.m. to 2 p.m., and an ending time from 5 p.m. from 10 p.m. We have that 3-hour window out there that a meeting has to occur in without making a motion to extend. So that would be, instead of 7 to 10, that would be 2 to 5. Item 3, add reference to be able to distribute agendas electronically. We're doing that, but this will put it into the procedural bylaw. Item 4, including committee of the whole meeting and conduct of same, including allowing for directional resolutions to to be made at a committee of the whole meeting. Number 5, posting of notices and agendas on the website. Number 6, order of business to include water matters and notice of motion. This is for council. How do we get a motion on the table? They can now come to a meeting and say at the next meeting, I am going to make a motion dealing with this. So they are giving notice to council that they'll be bringing a motion forward. Item 7, clarifying how and what delegations are heard. Number 8, inclusion of public hearing conduct. This is when we're having a public hearing, and in some cases they can get a little boisterous, and I guess that's going to be included in that. Number 9 would be changing reference of corporate administration officer reading bylaw name to the mayor reading bylaw name instead of the CAO reading it. It would be me that we've been doing ever since I've been mayor. Number 10 would be prohibiting anyone in attendance at a council or committee meeting from improper conduct. Allowing only one amendment to a motion. Sometimes they start building up and you get 2 and 3 amendments, and a lot of times nobody knows where they are. So this would just allow one amendment to a motion. Number 12, allowing for notice of motion and the protocol in that regard. 13, tied votes clarification. We all know how it works, but it's just going to be a part of our procedural bylaw. And number 14, this would be recordings of council meeting, video, audio, or both. Who is allowed and under what circumstances that we're going to allow taping or tape recorders, video cameras in council chambers. So continuing on, if council is in agreement with the proposed new bylaw, it should be sent for 3 readings at the next regular open meeting of council, and then must be advertised in 2 consecutive issues of the local newspaper before it can be adopted. Once adopted, a new advertisement with regard to the council meeting times will be required. So there's quite a bit of process out there for us to get through before we do any of these changes. And again, this is a notice of where council intends to head, but we certainly are expecting to hear from the public on this. So there's some options there, and I would be looking to council for a resolution. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move that Councillor Procedure Bylaw number 1271-2010 be read for the first time tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rhodes, seconder. Further discussion on this fairly substantial piece of work. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason I suggested that it be make a motion only to refer it for the first, or read it, sorry, for the first time is so that, as you suggested, we can ask people to think about it and can get feedback on it. I know for myself, when I read it, I had a number of concerns about different things, although I think it's an excellent compilation of a lot of things that were necessary and that we wanted to do, and I think staff have done a wonderful job of picking up all the things that we've talked about over the months and putting them in here. One of the things that perhaps I had a misapprehension about was that we were going to continue to hold public hearings in the evenings, and I see that the text here says that we would have them in an afternoon at 2 p.m. And so I think that's something that I would certainly want to hear from the public on, because I think public hearings are a little different than our regular council meetings. Often council meetings are passing things that need to be passed but aren't controversial. But public hearings, I think, in the afternoon might be a problem. And I don't know whether I have a number of little things, but I'm not sure that this is the time to do them. And
well, I think
what would you advise, or
well,
what kind of direction can you provide?
Why don't you pick out a few highlights? I don't think we're going to debate them.
No.
But maybe maybe that'll get a few people thinking about some of the changes. If you've got something that's quite glaring, or that you really see as being wrong, maybe we could read a couple of those.
Okay, well, thank you. Under number 11, we're talking about committee meetings and talking about the notification that that members of, that the public and members of committee receive from about forthcoming meetings of their committee. And I would like to see us add to that members of council, because committees that we set up are in fact either select or standing committees, and I think that we should be notified that these committees are being held so that we may attend. It tells us further on in the text that we can attend, but usually we don't know about them unless we come up and look on the notice board. So I think that the notices and the agenda packages should be shared with council, and we can do that so easily now with electronic emails. So that was one, and I think we should incorporate the fact that we are in fact distributing things and notifications by our e-news. I don't think that seems to make it in here as far as I can see. So I think that's an important thing. We've done it, and it seems to be working, and I think we should make sure that the annual meeting, for example, is not only posted on our website, but that we can distribute that to others. Any other thing that I think we might want to talk about what edition of Robert's Rules we use. That may sound like a pretty arcane thing to say, but they do a lot of different editions. And so I know I have been in organizations where people have thought one had one edition and one had another, and they were arguing as to whose edition it was the more proper one. And I think that personally, I know that our sometimes it is confusing, but I may feel a little bit restrained by only being able to do one amendment at a time. I like to get all this chain of sub amendments myself, but I guess I don't have to indulge my personal interest in parliamentary procedure.
Okay, well, thank you, Councillor Ryan. And again, we will be going in with some of those comments and some of that we received from the public and throwing this around a bit. So is there any other input in this, Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to just go back to item number 2 regarding the change of time in our council meetings, and as Councillor Ryan said earlier, this process that we're going through tonight is not an opportunity to debate at this time whether we feel that this is good, bad, or indifferent. But I would like to really emphasize the importance of every member of, in our community that has an interest in this matter. Let your thoughts be known. We're accessible. We have telephone numbers. We have email. And we really need to hear from the public about this particular matter. It's important that we do the right thing. We feel somewhat that this is a good move. It has many positive things, a few negative, but we really want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and the way to do that is to have input from the public. People who are interested in this, we would like to hear from you, and that's a sincere comment. And if you feel that you'd like to attend meetings and having them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon is the wrong time of the day, we need to hear that from each and every one of our members in the community. And this is an opportunity at this time. This bylaw is not being passed tonight. It is only being read once. There's lots of time for public input to this, and please be involved. It's important.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Chadsey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are a number of changes proposed, so much so that this is a new bylaw. It's here for first reading for a number of items, and we reviewed it somewhat quickly this morning at our committee of the whole. And I'm sure that we all want to take a look at the entire bylaw, similar to what Councillor Ryan was mentioning. I'm not finding where the public hearing states specifically that it is at 2 o'clock. I think that we have the ability to set public hearing times whenever and wherever council deems the best. So public hearings aren't really an issue. Today, for the first time, I think, this year, other than 2 public hearings, we have 2 members of our community sitting in the audience. This is a real thrill for council to have somebody other than 2 press and 2 videos. These are real live people who took the time out of their evening to actually come and sit down when they could have watched it on TV. So while I agree with Councillor Rhodes that if you have a valid reason why we should not hold these meetings during the day as opposed to the evening, we would dearly love to hear it. I'm really not interested, I'm sorry, if you're going to tell us that you might one of these days want to attend a meeting. You know, the money that we will save, the time that we will save, the information that we will be able to have at our fingertips at these meetings is extremely important. It's always been council's desire to have the best information available, and this will give us it. The broadcasting will still be done in the evening of Monday. So those of you who cook your popcorn and sit down and watch us, nothing is going to change. You'll still be able to watch TV in the evening. So we are looking for comments, seriously looking for valid comments. So I will support first reading, and we'll see what happens with this and the other 14 plus changes.
Great. Okay, I think it's all been said. It's out there. We're willing to receive some information. I'm not going to add anything further to it. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. That brings us, that's the end of the bylaws, and we'll be going into business. Business number 1 is the council meeting reports. This is the $100 claim for when councilors are out of town for a day full of business. So there was the one there for Councillor Ryan. There is also now one for Councillor Rhodes and Chadsey, who spent a day up in Penticton working on a human resources issue, and we're meeting with Patty Durkatch from the regional district up there, so they are added on it. So I'm looking for the motion for all 3 expense accounts. Councillor Ryan, Councillor Chadsey, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. Next item of business would be borrowing. This would be a borrowing procedure for the 87th Street Reconstruction Project. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The 87th Street Road Reconstruction Project from Jubilee to 92nd is budgeted to be completed in this fiscal year, and it includes road reconstruction, sidewalk, and water service upgrades. The project was budgeted at $590,000. 2/3 of the funding was coming from infrastructure grants of $393,333, and 1/3 from long-term borrowing, and that amounted to $196,667. So the project was tendered. Council awarded the contract to Mike Johnson Excavating Limited in their motion 223/10 on May the 3rd of this year, and construction of this project is expected to be completed by August the 31st of 2010, the end of the summer. So Borrowing Bylaw 1258/2009 received approval before Council adopted this bylaw on February the 1st, 2010, and it included the Inspector of Municipalities' approval on November the 27th, 2009, and approval of the electors through the alternative approval process on January the 18th of 2010. This bylaw allows the town to borrow $196,667 over a 20-year period for the 87th Road Reconstruction Project. So the town of Osoyoos issues our long-term debt financing through the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, who in turn borrows from the Municipal Finance Authority. The resolution from Council requesting consent of the borrowing needs to be made to the regional district of Okanagan-Similkameen, and it is shown in our option number 1. And so I just as a clarification, perhaps I can ask, the reason for that is that we get a better preferred rate, I suppose?
The reason is it's the law.
It's the law. Oh,
It's the law.
Okay, thank you. I was unaware of the precise reason, so thank you very much. So we have no choice. So therefore, I would like to move, Mr. Mayor, that Council approves borrowing from the Municipal Finance Authority of British Columbia as part of their 2010 fall issue, $196,667, as authorized through Loan Authorization Bylaw No. 1258/2009, 87th Street Road reconstruction at Jubilee to 92nd Avenue, and that the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen be requested to consent to our borrowing over a 20-year term and include the borrowing in their security issuing bylaw.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Rhodes. Any further discussion?
I'm glad I came to the meeting because I learned now that we have to do this.
Right. Any further discussion? Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to mention that that we actually are, first off, I'd like to mention I'm speaking in favor of the motion. There's always a certain amount of hesitation when you're going out and borrowing large sums of money. But I want to make it, really clear in case it went by anybody, that we're only paying 1/3 for this road construction. It's needed work. It's part of the federal infrastructure grant process. And it is really a darn cheap way to get our roads improved. And this is going to be a considerable construction job on a road that really, really needs it. And we're getting away really good, even at the $196,000.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Under Business 3, this is an extension to the existing Northwest Sewer contract. I'm in conflict on this issue. Councillor Chadsey is going to lead, and I will pass the gavel to Councillor Rhodes for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. So Councillor Chadsey will take the lead in this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Currently, the Northwest Sewer project is underway, Phase 1. We received a letter from Urban Connections, who is speaking on behalf of a property owner called Reflection Point Properties. Reflection Point Properties are outside of Phase 1 by approximately 3 properties. And they are requesting that they be included in the Phase 1. True Consulting, which is the engineering firm working on behalf of the town, reviewed this request with the existing contractor who is doing Phase 1, and the on-site contractor has agreed to extend his unit price to the additional properties to be serviced. What that means is that the price that he quoted in his original tender for Phase 1, the on-site contractor is prepared to extend that price to include the additional properties. Existing purchasing policy within the town requires that any purchases over $15,000 be tendered. However, Council does have the authority to waive this requirement if Council deems the situation to be in the best interest of the community. The total cost of the service is $73,000, so clearly it is over the $15,000 purchase limit. In this situation, it would be in the best interest of the community to fulfill its obligations to the Reflection Point developer in a timely fashion and at a cost that has been identified as the low bid amount. And for this reason, it's been recommended that Council approve the expenditure of $73,000 without the tender to enable a reflection point development to be serviced at the same unit price as the Phase 1 of the project. And so I'm going to make a motion that the council approve the expenditure of $73,000 and that the Phase 1 of the Northwest Sewer Sector be extended to include reflection point properties. I'll speak to that motion.
Thank you. Could we just clarify that it's without tender?
Without
Yeah.
tender.
A seconder for that? Okay, any further discussion towards that motion?
I do. I just have one question. And are the three properties that now are between the end of Phase 1 and Reflection Point, are they included then? Or are they still going to be skipped to go up to Reflection Point?
We had to secure easements through those properties, and we've just about secured these easements, so they'll be serviced
Okay.
at the same time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A further question, and that is that I'm assuming that Reflection Point has paid all of its fees and amenities. And
Yes, we've
totally
Reflection
up.
Point has we're in receipt of their money many months ago, and they would like the development to move ahead, and now that we've secured the easements, it's something that we can do. Also, in terms of the contractor, apparently pipe prices have gone up, and that's since the tender. However, he's prepared to continue with that tender price. It's a good deal for us.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Mayor Wells can come back in now.
Thanks, Councilor Rhodes. Bringing us to business 4. This is a good item. The aeration system up at the lagoons. Councilor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I always like to be a part of, and this is certainly a pretty positive move for our community, and has to do with the aeration system and the energy reduction program, and is Phase 2 of the tender. A little bit of background: this project is to provide solar power at the sewage treatment plant. This tender for Phase 2 of this project closed on May 21st, 2010. A little bit of an overview. We received 6 tenders, with Bright Energy Limited being the lowest bidder at $221,033.50 plus GST. And UES Engineering has reviewed the tender package and has confirmed that Bright Energy Limited is the low bidder and meets all the tender requirements. This tender from Bright Energy Limited was under budget, and UES Engineering has also recommended the council consider exercising the 11.7 kilowatt of additional capacity under provisional item 1.4 of the tender, amounting to $54,974 plus GST. There is budget room available for this project to include the additional item. We've been provided with a couple of options. There is some backup documentation that clearly outlines the status of the tenders that were received. All of the pricing is clearly laid out in a letter followed by a spreadsheet. And we've been provided with some options. The first one, to award the Aeration System Energy Reduction Program Phase 2 to Bright Energy Limited for $276,007 plus GST, including the tender price and additional 11.7 kilowatts of capacity. Second option, to award the Aeration System Energy Reduction Program Phase 2 to Bright Energy Limited for $221,333 or $221,033 plus GST, including the tender price only. And the third option being to retender the project. And I'd like to move at this time that we that option 1 be accepted, and that's to award the aeration system energy reduction program phase 2 to Bright Energy Limited for $276,007 plus GST, including the tender price and an additional 11.7 kilowatts of capacity.
Great, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Ryan? And further discussion on this. This was neat that we're doing this solar energy and on the aeration for the lagoons. We've been doing a lot of infrastructure work up there. I think people have seen some of those black sausages and things that are draining some of the old lagoons. There's one more to do after that. But when we get all done up there, we're looking at probably a 20-25 year run. It will be in almost new shape or reconditioned shape. So you know, when we look at where our tax dollars are going at times, you see that's kind of money going out there, and obviously people can't see it, but it's really the center of our public works. So this is good things that are happening. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Speaking in favor of the motion, I would like to mention that our aeration system up there is using the common source of energy right now. It's plugged into an electrical source. Every 2 months, the town receives a tremendously long and high dollar value invoice from our electrical supplier. This is certainly going to contribute to the reduction of the costs up there. The payback is lengthy, I understand that, and I know people often say that solar power is something that, you know, takes forever to pay back, and you know, it does take a long time, but I think the point is that there is a payback period at the end of the day, and by plugging those pumps into conventional electricity sources right now, it's ongoing and will never change other than to go upwards in cost. At least there is some hope now to reduce those costs and at the end of the day get a payback period for it.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Any further comments on this? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is also part of our carbon footprint reduction as well. So we're got a solar installation in town, which we're very happy about, and it's manning, it's powering one of the most important things that we have in the town, which is our waste disposal.
Mr. Romanko, please.
I could just add that 2/3 of this project is being paid by an infrastructure grant that we received last year. So the first phase of this particular project was the multi-speed pumps that allow us to use less energy consumption when we don't need it. The pumps power down. This is phase 2, which would allow the solar energy production. The additional capacity is the potential is there for streetlight powering, and so that's what that additional capacity could be worked into.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. That's good green news. Anything further? All in favor? Recommendation? Opposed? Carried. Next item of business is BC Transit. This is our bus that we use in town here. Council was presented at a committee of the whole meeting on April the 6th, the annual operating agreement with BC Transit for the South Okanagan Transit System. It did not proceed immediately to regular open as BC Transit advised that changes were necessary to Schedule C. These changes have now been made and the agreement is being forwarded for council approval. The administration of the operating agreement for South Okanagan Transit was forwarded to RDOS in 2008 to consider making a regional service. This is still being worked on at the RDOS staff level and no decision of the board has yet been made. It is prudent of the town to consider entering into this operating agreement for one more year while the RDOS staff finalizes the gathering of their data for the board's consideration. The net municipal share of the transit system is $31,445. $21,070 is recovered from interior health, and the balance of $10,375 is cost shared between Osoyoos Oliver and the RDOS areas A, C, and D. The town of Osoyoos portion is estimated at $4,240, down from $9,300 in 2009. And the reason it's come down is because we had better positioning and better agreements with the other partners. So we dropped again from 9,300 to 4,200, which is a substantial drop because people, you know, we just wanted everyone to be paying their fair and equitable share. Of note, all funding partners have confirmed that they will be contributing in 2010. There's some options there, and the recommended option is, I have to pass that. I can't make motions. So, Council, please. Councillor Rhodes.
I'll move option 1. The council approves the 2010/2011 annual operating agreement with BC Transit, and that the mayor and CAO be authorized to sign.
And that seconder, Councillor Chadsey. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. Business item number 6, ICBC access to information. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have an agreement with ICBC to receive certain information that we need to enforce our bylaws and to ticket when necessary. And in 2007, ICBC made it a requirement that we enter into an access to information agreement in order for the town to obtain vehicle license and ownership information. And so we had this agreement with them since 2007, and it's requires of us to appoint persons who will be designated as representatives in order to access the information on behalf of the town, and of course be bound by the requirements of the Information Act. The Director of Corporate Services has been the compliance representative in the past, with the Director of Corporate Services, the Deputy Corporate Officer, and specified bylaw enforcement officers as designated representatives. The agreement is now up for renewal. It's a renewal for a 5-year period. And so I would like to move, Mr. Mayor, that Council appoint Jeanette Van Vienen, Director of Corporate Services, as its compliance representative for the purposes of the Access to Information Agreement with ICBC, and that the Chief Administrative Officer, the Director of Corporate Services, the Deputy Corporate Officer, and bylaw enforcement officers be designated representatives for the purpose of the Access to Information Agreement with ICBC, and that the Mayor and the Corporate Officer be authorized to execute the agreement with ICBC.
Thank you. And that was a motion? That was a resolution?
That was our resolution, yes.
Okay, thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Chadsey. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Under business number 7, Desert Sun Counseling and Resource Center. Councillor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is no real decision on who gets what item in the agenda to present, so it's kind of my bad luck to get the Desert Sun Counseling. Desert Sun Counseling and Resource Center has been recipients of our grant in aid for a number of years now. Just this past year, we did not make a decision on the Desert Sun Counseling, and we asked that they come and make a representation to council. And they did that. They attended our May 17th Committee of the Whole, and presented council with a very, very good overview of all of the wonderful work that they do. In previous years, they've had an amount of $7,000, and this year they had increased their request to $10,000. We're now faced with the decision on how much grant money to give the Desert Sun Counselling. And before us we have a report from our Director of Finance. And he informs us that the funding available, total funding available for grants in 2010 is $114,000. And that so far we have committed just over $105,000, which only gives us to date approximately $8,700 remaining. And so Council is faced with either giving the $10,000 to Desert Sun and having to find $1,300 from somewhere else, or to give them a lesser amount and retain some of that $8,700 should we get further requests, or to give them the balance of what is in our budgeted amount of $8,700. And I'm going to make a recommendation that we approve a grant in aid in the amount of $5,000 to Desert Sun Counselling and Resource Center. This will allow Council just that little bit of room should we get further requests come in throughout the year.
We have a seconder. Councillor Rhodes. Discussion. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate the representatives from Desert Sun Counselling in their move to come to our committee of the whole meeting. I recognize that they're a valuable organization in our community. There's a lot of good and positive things that they do, and I am going to speak in favor of this motion. However, I would like to also mention at this time and strongly recommend that that this should probably be the last time that this happens. This is at the end of several years of grant. Our grant and aid program was never intended to be an ongoing source of funds year after year. The grant and aid program is designed to be project specific, and there is an application process that organizations can go through. When we give a large percentage of our grant and aid money to one or two different organizations, it doesn't allow us to look at the broad spectrum of other organizations that are starting up, have perhaps large projects that they would need some help with. And, you know, we need to move forward and onward with this project and allow us to look at all of the organizations that would apply for the grant and aid process rather than just repetitively giving money out year after year. And I know that our grant and aid process has been reviewed considerably this year, and it certainly appears that we're moving in that direction. So I would caution Desert Sun Counselling and many other organizations that have received ongoing financing from the town year after year that perhaps this may be the last year that this happens.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Further discussion? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, I think Councillor Rhodes has pointed out very well that we're looking for projects as opposed to programs, and kind of that ongoing sustaining grant, not really what we contemplated in our program. So we're happy to support them. Know that these days organizations that are in the area of aid are having difficult times and always can use more money, but we, with a limited budget, we want to try to spread it around, I guess, as much as we can and target various projects that are in need of that little infusion that will allow them to do what they have to do.
Excuse me. Thank you. And I guess that comes into one of my little special interest issues, and I am always looking for that fair and equity partnerships, equitable partnerships with other funding and other governments and rural areas and things like that. I would like to see these done on a bigger scale and everyone paying sort of a fair share into some of the groups that come forward with our grant and aid monies and that. So I think I think we voiced some of our concerns as council, and as we look at some of these, hopefully we can move towards a better way of doing it than what we're doing. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item business 8 was that Greyhound proposal that we've taken off the table. Item 9 is the acting mayor. Just a little scheduling conflict here. I'm not going to go through the whole read of it, other than Councillor Ryan is acting mayor for the month of July and will be away. This comes all under the community charter. He'll be away from July the 11th to July the 18th. Councillor Rhodes has stepped up and offered that he would be acting mayor for that period, and we have a recommendation that take place. So I'm looking for a resolution to Councillor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion that Councillor Rhodes be appointed acting mayor for the period of July 11th to the 18th, 2010.
Seconder?
I would second that with gratitude.
Okay. No further discussion, I'm sure. All in favor? That is done. Have an income statement here, April income statement, Town of Osoyoos, and the Sun Bowl Arena. The income statements to April 30th, 2010 are presented to Council for the Town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena. The accounts have been reviewed and are accurately reflected in the attached documents. Items to note from the April income statement include business licenses collected to date, $46,625. This is $1,625 over budget projection, $41,000. We had some changes there when we went to that bigger program where we were doing the business licenses for the area. Another change was the development of building service fees not meeting budget projections due to slow construction start. $22,999 collected to date as compared to $300,450 annual budget revenue. Annual budget revenue should be $99,149. Interest earned not meeting budget projections due to the prime rate remaining at an all-time low. $22,690 earned to date as compared to $100,000 annual budget. Revenue should be $33,000. Cemetery had new signage installed for safety and security reasons. Total cost of just over $1,000. Budget amount will be brought forward for council as this item was not originally included in the 2010. All other expenditures are within the budget parameters. Rural water notices were billed and mailed in April, with the due date for water district users being June the 15th, 2010. Any accounts outstanding after that date will incur a 10% late penalty. So I guess this is a good warning for rural water users. It is June the 15th is your due date for your water taxes. Please have those paid, because we hate it when we get people at the counter that just for whatever reason haven't paid, and they do incur that 10% penalty, and you just can't get away from it. So please pay your water bill. And property taxes are not included in the April statement as they were billed out in May with a due date of July 2nd. And again, this is early warning on your property taxes. Get them in, post-dated check, wonderful way to do business. We'll do everything for you, just get us the paperwork, because when people come in and they've incurred a penalty, and every year, I'm just waiting for the 1 year where we don't have a penalty year would be absolutely that would be a great year. So please just get them in there. Post-dated checks work well. So I'm just looking for a motion from council to receive the income statement. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey. No discussion, I'm sure. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item up is the payroll accounts for the general payroll, Sun Bowl payroll accounts, and here. Some recommendations. Recommendation 1, to approve the general fund cash requirements in the amount of $680,466.53.
I would so move, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Ryan, Councillor Chadsey, all in favor. Opposed? Carried. To approve the Sun Bowl Fund cash requirements in the amount of $11,825.43. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey, all in favor. Opposed? Carried. And net payroll accounts of $124,661.89 for the period May 1st to May 28th. Received for information. Motion from Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. Opposed? Done. The next item would be the report on the building permits. Again, nothing really exciting there. Don't see anything for the $10 million range or anything like that. I think those days are gone. The total for the month, $64,000. So we're not getting rich on our building permit funding. That's for darn sure. Coming up, we have some committee reports. Can I have one motion to receive all these minutes from the committees? Ms. Van Vienen? Is that a yes? Sorry, I can. Okay. Councillor Ryan.
I would so move that we receive the Waterfront Steering Committee minutes of April the 29th, the Advisory Design Panel minutes of October, I guess that is. Oh no, that's February the 10th, and the draft minutes of May the 11th, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. And seconder, Councillor Rhodes. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have received those minutes. Over to Mr. Romanko with the CAO's report.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. In terms of some of the work that the administration has been involved in the last couple of weeks, I'll start with corporate services, and you've seen some of the work that's been coming out of corporate services with the council procedure bylaw. That's taken a lot of time to pull that information together, and a special thank you to all other municipalities that assisted us with this particular process. A big project that's been kind of came to a head is the annual report, which legally had to be provided to the community by June 4th, and we made it under the wire this year. June 4th at 4:30 was the time, and I think we were good for the morning. So special credit to Michelle Martineau pulling together all the information, and in today's mail, everybody that does not have no flyers notice in their box would have received a bulletin on our annual report. For people who have a no flyers notice in their box, they can pick these up from the town office as well. So it gives an overview of all the not all the activities, but some of the major activities that the town has been involved in. Also a financial report as well, and some very, very good information on some of the work the administration has been involved in. And Michelle did a lot of work to kind of pull us all together and get all that information in, which can be quite difficult sometimes. The complaints bylaw continues to deal with. Complaints are arising with illegal camping by transient workers. Also, bylaw has been working to remove RVs and boat trailers and signage and other chattels off roads and boulevards. So please be aware of that particular move right now. Finance reports that we have collected 6.39% of the taxes this year so far, as opposed to 4.5% from 2009. And they feel the reason is that we were able to get our tax notices out 10 days earlier this year, so that's helped there. Also, Finance is currently working on a new contract for landfill operations that will end on December 31st, and then this contract will be going to the public advertising. In terms of planning and development, on May 30th, the town hosted a well-attended public information meeting for the residents of Fuji Court to discuss the Capital Works project to Upper Spartan Drive and Fuji Court. The overall feedback in the room was a preference for a straighter intersection in front of Fuji Court townhouses as presented in the Waterfront Master Plan, but the comment sheets reflected a near split in favor of the true option of a 90-degree intersection. The residents were content to have a sidewalk on Fuji and expressed parking concerns by the Fuji townhouses. Also, the Planning Department is happy to inform Council that they have worked with the Breeze Pub to ensure that their covered parking will be open to use by patrons this year. So it'll probably be a seasonal thing based on need, but certainly that's something that's been looked at for a little while now. Public Works, Cell 2, the new liner and aeration system is near completion. Commissioning is scheduled for this week, followed by putting Cell 2 in operation. Beach cleaning has started. Summer's just about here, so we've had many comments about how good the beaches were looking, and we had a pre-construction meeting for Finch Road reconstruction and sidewalk from Finch to Eagle Court. That construction should start this week, and we hope to have all that sidewalk completed before the July long weekend. So after that, the contractor will be moving to 87th Street. Council dealt with the tenders on the Lagoon Energy project. One landscaping proposal was received for completing the Park Place median. So we're going over that proposal and looking at the feasibility of that, so that we want to complete that project as well. True Engineering is currently going over going to all high water users that have been identified to complete the meter installation assessment. Once they'll be taking pictures of all the situations, and then they'll be drawn up into a tender package that will enable local contractors or other contractors to bid on installing those, I think, 25 water meters that we've budgeted for. They've also been in the process of organizing work to change the existing water meters over to from touchpad to radio read meters. So those are things that were all budgeted, and work is proceeding. In recreation, the shutdown at the arena is progressing well. A number of items, including plant room overhauls, general painting, emergency lighting, and landscaping have been completed. Bleachers overhauled, cracks in the arena floor pad have been fixed, as well as the boards and walls cleaned. We are hosting an ice makers course from June 23rd to 25th. That way we get a free training, and we get a lot of people to put our ice in. The summer coordinator has been hired, and we're scheduling the hiring of the other students, and we've been able to secure about $2,500 in terms of a human resource development grant to assist us with that program. And in terms of myself, the CEO activities, I've been re-engaged with some activities related to the Northwest Sewer Project. We're looking at doing a communication plan for that project, and also we're also working on securing some easements, especially the packing house one. We'll be having a meeting this Friday with the BC growers on that issue, and a number of meetings with developers with the planning department. On another note, very happy to report that our town was able to field a very good hockey team that played in a Ronald McDonald hockey tournament. Not this weekend, the weekend before that. This was the first time for us that the project, the tournament is organized by our True Engineering consulting company. 16 teams, and the boys did themselves proud. We did lose the final game on the A side, but and we did come in second in terms of fundraising, but we were beaten out by a very much larger company in terms of the fundraising. So we were able to raise $2,300 that went to Ronald McDonald House, and a special thank you to the fire department, who donated $1,000 from their fundraising activities to our cause. Also, our engineering company, the sponsoring company, they donated $500 to our cause, and that's probably why we didn't beat them in the final game. And between staff and council, we also raised $850. So thank you to everybody that contributed, and a good time was had by all, and everybody behaved themselves. That's the report from the administration. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Romanko? Motion to receive the report, please. Councillor Ryan, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. Opposed? Carried. Guess we're going into council reports. Just one comment I'd like to make on the town's annual report. It's that small little two-pager or four-pager that you're going to get. Last year we put in a lot of effort and a lot of time, and I guess that translates into money. We really did a bang-up job on it. I think we gave away at the front counter, I think two copies went out, and we thought it was good enough that it might have been award-winning material. Didn't get an award. Nobody came and picked it up. So this year we're doing the economical model, and I think that'll serve us every bit as well as the big one we did last year. Councillor reports. Councillor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a number of things I was going to talk about today, and then it dawned on me that the next time we have a council meeting, our Relay for Life will be over. And so I'm going to spend a few minutes once again talking about Relay for Life. It is June the 19th. We all know the purpose of it. It's to raise funds for research to fight cancer. Cancer has affected all of us. For me, twice I've had to deal with the disease, and I lost my mother at a very early age. She left 8 children. The reason I'm being personal about this is because every one of us, every one of you has been affected by it, and it is personal. When you lose a parent or a child or a friend, it's personal. And when you go up to the racetrack on June the 19th and you walk around that track and all the luminaries are lit, hundreds of them, they all have the names of people who have succumbed to the disease or who are fighting it or who have survived the disease. You realize just how personal it is. And so I'm really asking everyone to make this a success. It's up to us whether we fail or whether it's a success, and I'm asking everyone to make it a success. The town has put in a team. We're always looking if somebody wants to make a donation on our behalf, but mostly I'm just asking you to go down to the Bank of Montreal, just make a donation. They can accept it down there. You can apply it to a specific team, or you can just make the donation on behalf of yourself or a loved one. This is so important, and we need the funds so bad for the research, and the amount of research that's been done and the accomplishments they've made is really tremendous. So let's please keep it up. And outside of that, I was at the FCM, which is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Councillor Cronmiller and I attended and learned lots of good things, and I will be passing that information on to council. And I think I'll just leave that right there. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Chadsey. And of course, that Relay for Life is such a rewarding and such a good program. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to use this opportunity tonight to rant about our drought conditions, but how ridiculous would that be following several weeks of heavy rainfall. Before I move on, I'd like to mention that our drought status has moved from a level 3 to a level 2. Level 3 is really, really bad. Level 2 is still extremely serious, and a week of good hot weather in our community and we'll be right back up to level 3. So please continue to practice your water conservation at home and anywhere else that you can. It is very important. So over the last year or so, my fellow council members and the mayor have allowed me to speak freely about the harmful effects of one-time plastic bags in our community. But it's really obvious to me at this point that many members in our community have really gotten on board with using the cloth bags. And we really are beginning to make a positive impact in the health of our landfill. One of the catchwords nowadays is waste deferral. And what that means in a more contemporary set of words is, stuff that doesn't arrive at the landfill is called waste deferral. And it's important that we pay attention to that, because contributing to waste management is everybody's responsibility in our community. And it's important for us to understand that we're never getting another landfill in our community. We don't have the property, we can't afford it, and it just ain't never going to happen. So it's really, really important for us to participate in programs like composting. So many of us have purchased our backyard composters, and I'm sure everybody in this room has one actively going on. And those of us that participate in this kind of a program really do prolong the life of our landfill, and we're contributing to the overall health of our environment as well. But regrettably, we're just not there yet. Many of our residents cannot participate in composting because they live in apartments and condo developments that are not compost friendly. There's just nowhere to do it. So I wanted to hold this up. This is a paper bag. Kind of looks like every other paper bag you've ever seen in your life. It's got some fancy printing. This bag has got some pretty unique features to it. It's leak proof, it's odor proof, totally biodegradable, compostable, and doesn't contain any kind of plastic at all. So I'm going to leave it up to you to figure out how that's possible with a piece of paper, but it really does appear. It's got a nice liner in it. And you're probably wondering what the heck I'm doing holding up this paper bag here, but the idea is for us to use a bag like this. They come in all different sizes. This is the smallest one, costs about 40 cents. And you put your compostable materials into this bag, if you don't have the backyard thing. And when it's full, you seal it up, and then you dispose of it in a compostable, friendly environment, like a bin. And we're kind of struggling with what to do with our compost, and I think everybody understands the importance of doing it and the impact that it has on many aspects of our lives. But at this time we got a few challenges in front of us. First off, we don't have any bags. This is the only one. We don't have a composting program in place, and we don't have any willing participants in it. And that's where you can come into play. As with all programs, it's the willingness of the participants that drives the project towards success. If you're committed to it, if you're involved in it, you really can make a difference. So once again, and I know this is the second time tonight, I'd really, really like to encourage people in our community to contact myself, the mayor, any of the other councillors, and let them know how you feel about it. If you'd like to participate in a very, very simple program like this. And our emails, our telephone numbers, and everything are available at the Town of Osoyoos website, and I'm going to read that off in case you don't know what it is. It's www.thewordosoyoos, where we all live, followed by another dot and 2 letters CA. So that's www.osoyoos.ca. If you go there, you can look up our telephone numbers, our emails. There's a possibility that you could let staff members know if you're involved. But really, here's a really good option for us to make our landfill a better place. And, if you would like to participate, we'd certainly like to hear from you about it.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I had the pleasure of doing a lot of things in the last couple of weeks, and I know you want to talk about the Goodman Park dedication, so Mr. Mayor, so I'll just say that I attended, and the mayor did himself proud and did us proud, and if you weren't there, you can probably read about it or get the text of some of the notes. I attended the public information meeting on Fuji Court, and that was interesting to hear the comments of people and to hear about some of the concerns they had. So we're hoping that will be redrawn and we'll be ready to start on that very soon. The opening of the Sagebrush as a health center occurred this past week, and the Interior Health has done a great job in renovating parts of that for the services that they provide to the community, and they've increased their services manyfold. And they have a psychiatrist now who's there 1 day a week. They have social workers, they have the home care workers, and a lot of people either in that or that operate from that particular facility. So it's really it's a wonderful center for health and healthy activities. Attended the regional library meeting as a board member appointed by the council. And I don't know if you appreciated that the library is really a $15 million operation. So it's a very large operation. And so we went through a lot of the things that you do at an annual meeting. We approved the financial statements and heard the report on the various programs from staff and the annual report. We also approved the program for the new library in Vernon. So that's one of the big projects that's on the table for the staff at the regional library, is this new library that's coming up. So, and additionally brought in the Penticton Indian Band into the library system through an agreement with them to participate, and they participate through the Penticton Library. So it's kind of an interesting partnership there. The community initiatives for senior independence that I've spoken about a number of times has been meeting weekly, and recently you may have gotten a questionnaire from them. It was a yellow piece of paper that came in your mailbox, and it asks if you're a senior or someone helping a senior to fill this in. And if you haven't done so yet, please do so. There's several places in the community that you can drop it off, which are on the form, and so please take a moment. If you didn't get it, it was in last week's Osoyoos Times, and it might be in again this time, I'm not sure. But anyway, look up last week's if you haven't recycled it already. Don't forget the public information meeting this coming Thursday on the Waterfront Master Plan with a focus on Lions Park. It's going to be Thursday, the 10th of June at the Sonora Center, and you can drop in anytime between 4 and 7 in the evening. And as has been said already tonight, we'd really like your opinions on various things, but particularly on the changes to the time of council meetings. So write us, stop us in the street or in the store, call us, email us, let us know what you think about some of those proposals, particularly the time. So I think that pretty well covers some of the things that I've been involved in.
Great, thanks, Councillor Ryan. It's been a great couple of weeks for myself. There's a few that I do want to touch base with. And I guess the first one, a little bit of humor. I went to a preschool over at the Child Care Center, and I think these were 3- and 4-year-olds, and they were quite excited to meet the mayor. And when I looked in my office today, I had this wonderful card, all their hard work put into it. But what they were really interested in was the juice and the Timbits. I got about 11 pages of thank you for the Timbits and the juice. So how easy it is to keep the young folks happy, eh? If only the seniors were that easy. There's a half iron that comes up every year in July, and it's that first Sunday in July. And somehow from a carryover, I don't know how I'm still doing this or why, but I sort of became the point man for people with kayaks, helping and assisting in the swimming leg of that. So that would be on Sunday, July the 4th, at about 7 a.m. at the Legion Beach. Anybody with a kayak, if we can get probably 8 or 10, you're just doing some safety work in case anyone gets into any trouble. And this is this half iron. So it's a real exciting event. They probably will have about 400 entrants this year. just to see those people and the noise when you're sitting in a kayak, the noise of 800 arms slapping the water, it looks like a bunch of seals in there. But anyone that would like to come out, give me a call, contact me, and we'll get something set up, and maybe through the Osoyoos Lake Sailing Club on that. So anyone that would like to do that, you're more than welcome. Couple things that I got excited about. One was, of course, the Goodman Park. That was just such a fantastic day. We'd been through rain for 3 or 4 days, and we had a great day there. Had hot dogs, had all the pioneers that were there, and it was really, really wonderful to finally call that park the Goodman Park and recognize those contributions to our town. And the one that I'm going to mention that is a legacy that we all enjoy was Mr. Goodman and Mr. George Fraser that are responsible for the wide Main Street in Osoyoos. They said we wanted it at the width it is now, and people in the business and the bureaucrats, and I don't know if they had a highways department then or not, but they wanted it the width of Oliver's. And these two gents stood their ground and said, no, we want a wide Main Street in Osoyoos, and look how wonderful it is today. So it's those kind of legacies that we sometimes never know about that are really important in the founding fabric of our small community. So they're both long passed on, obviously, but we're enjoying that legacy today, and Goodman Park is just absolutely wonderful. The next item I want to talk about is an individual that lives in the area, Harold King. He was recognized today. He won the Elton Anderson Award. This is a provincial award put out by the Naturalists of British Columbia, the highest award, and I think it's quite special when anyone wins an award at the provincial level. So congratulations to Harold King. He's been involved in every organization around for many, many years, and still is. And he's on the Desert Center, and he's on the Oxbow Restoration Society, and he was on the Land Resource Management Plan. I think and there was just hours and hours and hours. So Harold received this award today, and that was very good. A couple items on the economic note. The Economic Development Association of British Columbia, they're meeting at Spirit Ridge, approximately 140 attendees, plus all the presenters and things like that. Nice little economic buzz for the town. And of course, the movie folks, they're staying at Watermark. They were shooting today up at Vassou Lake, and I believe there's a couple of shoots around in town tomorrow. I think the Husky I see is now named Phoebe's Restaurant. So I think that's going to have a role in it. And again, these are what we like. This is our shoulder season. This is getting some of that money rolling, and I think it's just great contributions to our economy. And I think that is pretty well it. So having nothing else, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Ryan.
Couple items maybe I forgot in my report. Just a reminder to people that starting next meeting, we'll be webcasting all our council meetings. They'll be web streaming, and we'll have instructions on our website in terms of to enable people to do that. So they will be live, and then people can bite in anytime they want to watch council after that. They'll be stored. Second point is that next meeting is also the annual meeting. So the annual meeting of council, so there'll be an opportunity for people to hear or make representation. So just a couple points. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. And once you opened up the door, of course, it allows me one more. And there's some people out there that are parking trailers in the boat trailer parking lot. We are in the process of dealing with that. You won't be doing that very shortly from now. So my suggestion to those people that have trailers in the boat trailer parking lot would be they should start looking for a different place to put them. That would be a good recommendation. So now I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Ryan.
I would so move that we adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Chadsey. Good night, folks. Thank you.
5 times tonight, I heard of it.